Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Rabia Sujad from Anatomy Department, Sahara Medical College, and today I'm going to discuss general anatomy of muscle. I've divided this section in two parts. Initially, I'm going to discuss the introduction and structure of muscles, and then the general classification of muscles. In the next section, we'll discuss about the details of skeletal muscles and their classification. The muscle word is derived from mus, which is a Latin, and it means mouse. So most of the vertebrate muscles resemble a mouse with their belly and tenon. So they named it muscles, that's why. Now, muscular system is composed of a group of tissues that makes your body parts move, and a few facts that we have over 650 major muscles in the body, and they work the same way, and over 50 of those muscles are in your face alone. It takes 17 muscles to smile and over 40 muscles to frown. So it's better to tire less muscles. The strongest muscle in your body is masseter, which is present around the jaw and responsible for the mastication. Also, the most active muscles are those present in your eyes. They move more than 100,000 times in a day. What are the characteristics that differentiate muscle tissue from other tissues? First of all, the muscle tissue should be able to receive and respond to a nerve stimulus. That means it is excitable. Then, after receiving that impulse or stimulus, it is going to show some changes. Either it can shorten and thicken by decreasing its length, or it can relax and lengthen. That category is known as contractility when it's shortened and extensibility when it lengthens. And then after the impulse is gone, the muscle is also able to restore its normal or neutral state. That characteristic is known as elasticity. Now, with those characteristics, the muscles are able to produce movements. The movements can be related to locomotion, that is walking, running, or even part of the body moves, like picking up a book. Then involuntary movements can also occur, like heartbeat, which is occurring the whole day, and peristaltic movements of GIT. Even in the neutral tone, the muscles, they are able to maintain the posture and stability of the body. During their activities, they produce heat energy and also are responsible for maintaining the internal heat of the body. Then they also are supporting the soft tissue within the body cavities and protecting them. Then they are also present as sphincters around the openings and exits of the body, like esophageal sphincter, anal sphincter, urethral sphincters. Then the highly sophisticated activities which are related to human are the activities of the muscles of face, which show happiness, sorrow, grief, all the expressions. Certain terms are related to the muscular tissue, and their prefixes used in those terms are myo, mes, sarco. So if we hear these terms, we should know that they are related to the muscular tissue. So for example, sarcoplasmic reticulum is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle, and which is responsible for the calcium level regulation for muscle contraction. Then we have sarcoplasm, which is the cytoplasm of the muscle fiber or myofibril, and it is responsible for maintaining ATP levels for the contractility, and it has high amounts of mitochondria. Then we have glycosomes that store the glycogen, and then we have myoglobin protein, which is going to store oxygen at the level of muscular tissue. Sarcolemma is the word used for the plasma membrane of the muscle tissue, an important structure which has some protrusion inside the cell as T-tubules, and we're going to find out that these T-tubules are responsible for initiation of contractility. As contractility is the main characteristic feature of muscular tissue, that is there because of the presence of some specific proteins, which are myosin and actin, the main proteins which are responsible for the contractility. But there are certain other proteins as well which act as binding proteins. The most important of that is dystrophin, which are going to be responsible for the formation of the sarcomeres, the units present in the muscular tissue, especially the skeletal and cardiac muscles. Commonly, we describe three types of muscular tissue: the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle, which are structurally and functionally quite different entities. But when we discuss criteria of classification, they usually lie in some common jurisdictions as well. For example, if we do anatomical classification, then we divide the muscles into two main categories: striated and non-striated muscles. So two of them, like skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle, they fall in the category of striated muscles, while smooth muscle fall in the category of non-striated muscles. Then again, if we divide the muscle according to the function, they come into the categories of voluntary and involuntary muscles. So here only skeletal muscle lies in the category of voluntary muscles, while cardiac and smooth muscles lie in the category of involuntary muscles. So basically we discuss these three types of muscular tissues first, and then the different criteria of classification associated with them. Skeletal muscles are the most abundant muscles in our body. They make up 40% of the body weight, and they are related with the skeleton, and they are more or less voluntary muscles of the body, with a few exceptions, as some skeletal muscles may be related to reflexes. For example, in blinking, our eye muscles, they act even when we are not making any intention. Microscopically, the striations of skeletal muscles are way more prominent and well defined as compared to cardiac muscles, so these are making up the prominent category of striated muscles. The cells are elongated, cylindrical, they are non-branching, and they are multinucleated. So we can see this is one single muscle fiber. If you can start from origin up to insertion, there is one single muscle fiber which has striations due to the patterns of the proteins, and these are multinucleated cells, and nuclei are lying just below the sarcolemma. Here we can observe them. Mostly they are in control of our somatic nervous system, and they are mostly related to the skeleton and body walls. We can quote many examples like muscles attached to upper limb, lower limb, long bones. Then we have diaphragm, the tongue muscles, muscles of eyeballs, muscles of facial expressions, etc. Cardiac muscles make up the middle layer of the heart, known as myocardium. They are only present here, and they are involuntary muscles controlled mainly by the conducting system of the heart, but that can be modified by the activities of autonomic nervous system. We can see that the cardiac muscles are also striated muscles, as they have arrangements, proper patterns of sarcomere of myosin-actin proteins, but they are not as prominent as seen in skeletal muscles. We can also observe that the cardiac muscles are also cylindrical muscles, but opposite to the skeletal muscle, they are branching and they are very short. A skeletal muscle fiber extends throughout the muscle length from one end to another, and it has to be innervated by an independent axon ending to be participating in the contractility of the skeletal muscle. While cardiac muscles, they are branching, they are linked to each other at this structure which is known as intercalated disc, and these are gap junctions basically. So the cardiac muscles, they can act like a unit. The cardiac muscle of one chamber act as a syncytium. Like one muscle is activated, the whole of the syncytium will be contracting, but they are isolated from the cardiac muscles of the adjacent chambers. Another important feature which differentiated from the skeletal muscle is the nuclei. The cardiac muscles are uninucleated cells. You can observe one nucleus present in the center of the cell, and sometimes the surrounding region of the nucleus appears empty because in slides the glycogen stored around the nucleus is washed off. This is known as a perinuclear halo. The smooth muscles, as their name suggests, they are smooth in appearance. They are non-striated muscles, as they do not have the arrangement of sarcomere units in their structure. But this doesn't mean that they do not have the contractile proteins. The smooth muscles do have the contractile proteins, as a muscle cannot be identified without them. The contractility is basically associated with the proteins. They are fusiform or spindle-shaped muscles, very short, and they have a single central nucleus lying in the wider part of the cytoplasm, and the alternate arrangement is like that. The belly of one muscle is present over the tail of other muscles, so they adjust each other, and they are surrounding our organs, blood vessels, and they are involuntary muscles. For example, in GIT, they are responsible for the peristaltic movements. In blood vessels, they are responsible for vasoconstriction, vasodilation. Then the smooth muscle associated in the skin are erector pili muscles. They are responsible for the erection of hair shaft, as in goosebumps. This is important to compare all the three types of muscles. So they are compared on the basis of different categories. First of all, the fiber dimensions. The diameter of skeletal muscle is 100 mm and the length is up to 30 centimeters. So these are very long muscle fibers, while cardiac muscles in diameter are 10 to 20 mm and their length is up to 100 millimeters. So they are very short muscles. The smooth muscles are also short, diameter 5 to 10 mm and their length is 30 to 200 mm. The nuclei in skeletal muscles are multiple and they are present near the cell membrane, while in cardiac muscle and smooth muscle they are centrally located. Filaments are arranged in skeletal and cardiac muscles as sarcomere units. They make up property tubular and protein arrangement system, while in smooth muscles the filaments are not properly arranged like this, but they are associated with dense bodies scattered all around the sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasmic reticulum, or the smooth muscle of cardiac and skeletal muscle, they show proper network with the largest bodies associated with the T-tubules, which are called terminal cisterns. In skeletal muscle they form the triads, while in cardiac muscles they form dyads. In smooth muscle there is no such arrangement of the sarcoplasmic reticulum, as there are no T-tubules. Neural control of the skeletal muscle is through somatic system. and we can observe the neuromuscular junctions at single skeletal muscle fibers level. Then the control of cardiac and smooth muscle is via autonomic nervous system, and cardiac muscles are also controlled by their own conducting system and modified by the autonomic nervous system and hormonal control. Calcium, which is responsible for initiation of the movements of the myosin actin proteins, is released in cardiac and smooth muscles from the terminal cisterns of the sarcoplasmic reticulum, while in smooth muscles they are present in the extracellular fluid. Contraction in skeletal muscle is rapid onset, and there is rapid fatigue as well. That also depends upon the type of skeletal muscle though, and also on the myoglobin protein present in the skeletal muscles. While cardiac muscles and smooth muscles, they are slow onset, they are not easily fatigued. The slow onset cardiac and smooth muscles have aerobic respiration for their source of energy, while skeletal muscles use both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. When they use anaerobic respiration, they are fatigued easily because of lactic acid accumulation. Coming towards the end of this section, the three commonly used types of muscles can be classified based on different categories. So first, we have already discussed the structural classification is the two groups of muscles, striated and non-striated, where the striated muscles consist of cardiac and skeletal muscle, while non-striated muscles include smooth muscles. Functional categories include voluntary and involuntary muscles. Skeletal muscles are included in voluntary group, while cardiac and smooth muscles are included in the involuntary group. Now there is another category which is the developmental category. According to development, most of the muscles they arise from mesoderm. So almost all the skeletal, smooth and cardiac muscles are mesodermal in origin. There are some exceptions. For example, the smooth muscles, erector pili muscle, which is present in the skin, and the smooth muscles of iris, like the dilator and sphincter pupillae muscle, and also the myoepithelial cells present around the acini of glands. They are ectodermal in origin. And now that you have covered the general embryology, on the evolutionary basis, the muscles are also divided into two main groups. Number one are the somatic muscles, which are associated with the body wall, and they are under the control of somatic nervous system, and they are derived from the myotomes. And the other category is the visceral muscles, which are formed from the mesenchyme surrounding the endodermal tube or the gut tube. They are not derived from the myotomes and are under the control of autonomic nervous system. Now the somatic muscles are again divided into two parts. The somatic axial muscles, which are related to the trunk, and the somatic appendicular muscles, which are related to the upper and lower limb. While the visceral muscles are also divided into two groups. The visceral muscles associated with the gut tube and other internal organs, they are smooth muscles, while the visceral muscles associated in the neck region with the pharyngeal arteries, these are exceptions. They are striated muscles, skeletal muscles derived from the pharyngeal apparatus. For example, the muscles of mastication, the muscles related with the middle ear, etc. In the next section, I will discuss the anatomy of skeletal muscle, its organization, and then the important classifications which are asked in our examination. Thank you.